And this week on Mud, Sweat and Gears, we focus on the recent PMC National Rally, and lost when the South African Rally Brigade converged on Pretoria for the final round of the MSA South African Rally Championship. The Pretoria Motor Club headquarters in Silverton were a hive of activity, but with so much at stake for many teams and crews, a festive atmosphere carried undertones of tension and expectancy. Going into the final round, Toyota factory driver Serge Damso needed only a 6th place to clinch his 8th SA Drivers' Championship, and there were 3 contenders to take the Co-Drivers' Championship. For Serge Damso and the Toyota dealer team, history was there for the taking, and there was huge pressure on all concerned.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure that we must just make sure that we get to the end of this rally and we just have a clean run and no mechanical problem and not going off the road.
We're under heavy pressure here. We just have to make sure the car gets to the finish, even if we have to carry the car to the finish. That's what we'll do.
Another Toyota team was also in the news after completely destroying their team Total Toyota Corolla on the Cape Rally. Championship frontrunners Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley entered the PMC event in a Toyota Conquest borrowed from a friend.
Toyota decided that we shouldn't build a new car for the last event, obviously because of budget constraints and things like that. I then went to a friend of mine and said, "Can I borrow your car?" You know, with a reputation of just crashing mine into oblivion. You know, he looked at me like this and he said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So Jaco Venter from Venter Motors in Trichot, I think it's fantastic of them to actually lend it to me. I took a bit of preparation for the last week or so, but it's here, and well, we'll see how it goes.
There was also tension in the overall Group N Championship, where the title race was a straight fight between Toyota crew Dean Sanders and Graham Hooper, and the Nissan pair of Hannah Scrobler and Brian Duncan. After taking into account compulsory dropped points over the season, only 3 points separated the Toyota and Nissan crews, providing the PMC Rally with another pressure point.
We basically 3 points behind us if we drop our Cape Town event, and so we've got to beat them by 1 place or try. We've got nothing to lose. We won the Group N2 championship already, so we're going to be going flat out, see what we can do. The only thing I've got to lose is my car, that's it.
If we can beat him on this event, then we win the championship. So it's not all over, it's going to go to the wire, and the stress is there, and I think the younger guys did a very good job this year by chasing us.
Well, the starts of national championship rallies don't normally provide for drama, but the PMC rally was a little different. Local dignitaries officiating at the start of national events is now standard procedure, but there was an embarrassing start to proceedings for reigning SA champions Jan Habak and Douglas Judd. A slight miscalculation saw the Sasol VW Golf 4 slip off the start ramp. A little muscle power was needed to sort out the situation, and fortunately there was no damage to the car. Apart from a few minor scratches and red faces for the crew, Habak and Judd were soon on their way. Championship leader Serge Damso was not taking any chances of having the dealer team Toyota Corolla suffer the same fate. Damso had a careful look at the start ramp with a helpful bystander directing the Toyota crew on their way. Damso and Guy Hodgson, involved in a straight fight with Doug Judd for the Co-Drivers' Championship, were seen off by a contingent of Toyota supporters and were followed off the start ramp by a relaxed Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley in the borrowed Toyota Conquest. For reigning SA Drivers' champion Jan Habak, nothing but a win on the PMC would suffice if he was to pick up a 3rd successive title. Doug Judd was in a slightly different position, though, in his co-driver scrap with Guy Hodgson. Because Hodgson missed the opening event of the season in KwaZulu-Natal, Judd needed only 7 points to wrap up his 3rd title. It was a case of driver versus driver and co-driver versus co-driver, but a non-finish for either crew would end all title aspirations. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were virtually out of the title picture, as were Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. For the crew of the 2nd Sasol VW Golf in Class A8, their primary job was to make sure they finished ahead of Damso and Hodgson. Back in action after a 4-month layoff were former Class A6 champions Helgen Feckert and Dave Lukowitz, with an interesting tussle expected between the Pretoria pair and Jean-Pierre Damso and Johan Klaassen in the team Total Toyota Corolla. The fact that the 2 Toyotas were likely to clash head-on with a 3rd Sasol VW Golf, driven by Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows, added spice to the proceedings. On the Class A7 front, Nissan Sentra pair Johnny Gemmell and Errol Finnis were out of the championship picture, but would lock horns with newly crowned champions Tony Ball and Marty Olafia in the Bulwer Park VW Golf. Also back in action after a major accident on the Sasol Rally was the top car BMW. The spectacular Beamer was now crewed by KwaZulu-Natalians Cliff Blackman and Alec Harris. Behind them, the Group N battle between Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan in the Bridgestone Nissan Sentra, and Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper in the Team Total Toyota Corolla was quickly in full swing. Both teams had no option but to come out with guns blazing, with the Nissan crew establishing a slight early advantage. Both crews were being chased by Kobus Roos and Neil Fourie in the Toyota Corolla, and Ken Westermeyer and Gerrit Sneeman in a VW Player that was running in Class A7. Up at the first service point, matters weren't going quite according to plan for Jan Habak and Doug Judd. Damso and Hodgson were not going to be a threat at the front of the field, but an overheating problem forced Habak and Judd to slow down their pace, and it was Sasol VW teammates Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding who grabbed the early lead.
Johnny, heat's a bit of a problem?
Yeah, we went through some growth there and it blocked the radiator in the front, so for the last 15 k's the temperatures were very high in the car, and we were just trying to nurse it to the end just in case we damaged the engine, because we got a bit of time to play with, so we decided to rather be a bit cautious.
There were also early woes for Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley in the borrowed Toyota Conquest running under the Team Total banner. They limped into the service area, and with the hastily prepared Conquest suffering from mechanical and overheating problems, Lawrence wasn't his usual cheerful self.
No, it's been cutting, it's cutting out, and then I've also got a major oil leak on the clutch. So we'll have to change that at the 2.5-hour service if I can get there, but now I've got overheating problems.
After a disappointing season in the second Class A8 Sasol VW, multiple former Class A7 champions Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding finally had something to smile about, with Hergen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, after the last rally, which we only did 1 kilometer, I mean, we got the act together today. The car is fine, so we had a very good stage. It didn't feel that good, but when we came out, the times were excellent. I think we're leading by about 4 seconds. But I mean, we'll have to see. It's still a long way to go.
We had a 4-month layoff since the Sasol. We haven't really done anything. And we're lying third overall at this stage. We had the first stage was cancelled. The second stage we had the second quickest time just behind Habak. So we're going pretty well. I'm very happy. Thanks to my new sponsor Motorpix and Toyota, we're back.
There was plenty of activity around the top car BMW, with the PMC an emotional event for the team. Regular driver Doug Kemsley and co-driver Steve Krobler was seriously hurt in the Sasol Rally accident, which left Krobler paralysed. With the fully repaired Beamer crewed by Cliff Blackman and Alec Harris, a cheerful Krobler was out in his wheelchair to give the squad moral support. There was also plenty of action around the Adrian Karth Dolph Coetzee VW Golf, with technical crew busy with a quick gearbox change.
No, the gearbox is gone. Diff. It's gone, wasn't it? But it's ready. It's better than working.
Were building up in the Bronkhorstspruit area towards the end of day one, but at the front of the field, matters were now back to normal. Jan Habak and Doug Judd were back in the lead in the Sasol VW Golf 4, but pushing hard, and by contrast, the dealer Team Toyota pair of Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson looked as though they were on a casual Sunday drive, with Damso only needing 6th overall and 3rd in class to win the Drivers' Championship. There was never any doubt the Toyota pair were going to carefully monitor the pace, and were quite happy to let the two Sasol Golfs get away from them. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were in trouble in the Toyota Conquest and were rapidly losing ground, but behind the pair, Van der Walt and Harding were still on a charge in the second Sasol VW Golf. Hergen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Motorpix Toyota Corolla were on home ground and taking full advantage of the fact. The battle between Fecken and Lukowitz and former Class A6 drivers champion Jean-Pierre Damso, who's the son of Serge, and Johan Claassen in the Team Total Toyota Corolla was turning into an intriguing contest. On the Group N front, Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan in the Bridgestone Nissan Sentra were just where they needed to be, and that was ahead of championship challengers Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper. Sandwiched between the warring Group N teams were Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows in a 3rd Class A8 Sasol Golf, and a big fight in Class A7. Johnny Gemmell and Errol Finnis in the Nissan Sentra were locking horns with the Bulwer Park VW Golf in the hands of Class A7 champions-elect Tony Ball and Marty Olivier. When Gemmell and Finnis rolled on stage 6, the balance of power shifted to the VW camp. Class N2 champions Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper had done a good job of shadowing Group N leaders Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan. A puncture on special stage 6 cost them time, but they were still in touch with the Bridgestone Nissan Sentra. Behind them, veterans Jeff Mortimer and Jerry Hediker ran into early problems in the Sasol Nissan Sentra, but were gradually fighting their way back. The Toyota Corolla of Quibus Rus and Neil Ferree was running strongly, and the pair were only a handful of seconds behind the Sanders Hooper car. And in the gathering gloom, an interesting battle was going on at the front of Class N1. On the road, Mike Houghton and Brian Doherty in the Toy Spares Toyota Taz were ahead of champions-elect Rodney Versace and Carolyn Swan in the team Total Taz, with only seconds separating the two cars.
Yeah, luckily it was a short stage. It was about 5 k's long, and about halfway in the stage we got a puncture, and we lost about 4 or 5 seconds there, so it's not that bad.
Prior to the last 2 special stages of the day, on the outskirts of Bronkhorstspruit, there was a lengthy 2.5-hour service break. Technical crew were busy fitting rally lights to cars, and drivers and co-drivers had time to reflect on progress so far.
We've been pushing a bit overboard, I think. We've lost a bit of time through stupid mistakes. A little bit of a wrong slot off the road, so we had to reverse and get back on again. Lost about 10 seconds there, but otherwise it's close enough. It's closer than it's been, I think.
Johnny Kimmel was ahead of us up to this last stage by about 35 seconds, and he rolled and lost a minute, so now we're ahead. But we're concentrating on the war, not the battle. We've got a championship just to tie up here.
So what did you do? What did he?
No. Yeah, we came round a left-hander and got onto the straight, built up a bit of speed, and the front left wheels got onto the ploughed ground. And we went further and further, and then the car broadsided onto the mealy lands, and we went over. But it's not too bad. We've got a windscreen coming, so we should be in for the rest of the rally, hopefully.
The weather was starting to turn nasty with high winds and mini dust storms sweeping across the service area, and it was just a matter of time before the heavens opened. They did so in a big way, in time to ruin what Bronkhorstspruit civic officials planned on turning into a gala occasion. The downpour also produced treacherous conditions.
600.
Race cam action is from the Jan Habak Doug Judd Sasol VW Golf, with the South African champions and rally leaders among the crews to get a wake-up call. Habak and Judd almost found themselves going off the road in miserable conditions that sent the few spectators who braved the storm scurrying for whatever shelter they could find. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were now back among the midfield runners in the team Total Toyota Conquest, while Chad van der Walt and Cindy Harding were less than 20 seconds behind teammates Habak and Judd in second place. Race cam action here is from the Hergen Feck and Dave Lukowitz Motorfix Toyota Corolla, and they almost came to grief when the car aquaplaned off the road. That cost them 40 seconds, and it wasn't much fun for hardy spectators or crews. The Feck and Lukowitz incident saw rival Toyota pair Jean-Pierre Damseau and Johan Klaassen move ahead of the Motorpix car, and even a hugely experienced crew like Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan were not exempt from near disaster in the treacherous conditions. Of the PMC Rally, and in the leading Sasol VW Golf, a little early dissension between Jan Habak and Doug Judd over which route they should follow.
Right. Forklift, straight on.
No, it's up here.
No, it's not.
Well, the arrows go this way, Douglas. That thing is wrong. And the tracks are up here. 17.6.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it happens in the best of families. Crews were back in the Bronkhorstspruit and Witbank areas on day 2, and after the deluge in the area the night before, conditions in what were predominantly Milliefield special stages were not going to be easy. With slippery road surfaces and plenty of water around, mistakes that could be costly were going to be easy to make. Chad van der Walt and Cindy Harding started the day 41 seconds behind Habak and Judd, and had over a minute in hand over Serge Damseau and Guy Hodgson in the dealer team Toyota Corolla. Once again, no one was expecting any fireworks from Damseau and Hodgson, and such was their gentle pace the day before that a media wag suggested that Hodgson take a book along with him to while away the time. Superb car control from Damseau, but a tight right-hander through a farm gate posed a few problems for those behind the factory Toyota. Damseau's son, Jean-Pierre, and Johan Klaassen were fourth overnight in the dealer team Toyota Corolla, but a miscalculation produced an overshoot at the gate. The slight deviation didn't cost them much time, and then along came Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Motorpix Toyota Corolla. A lone video sport cameraman knew when he was onto a good thing, and in a carbon copy of the Damso-Klaasen mistake, Fecken and Lukowitz also lost a few seconds. Fecken and Lukowitz started the day 21 seconds behind the team total pair, but only had 6 seconds to spare over Class A7 leaders, Tony Ball and Marty Olivier in the Bulwer Park VW Golf. Ball and Olivier altered the script a little, and instead of completely overshooting the gate, needed a little three-point turn to get them pointed in the right direction. Ball and Olivier went into the second day of the PMC Rally in a dead heat with Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows in the third Sasol VW Golf, running in Class A8. Consistency is a forte where Krobler and Burrows are concerned, but this time around they made a complete mess of the plot. Well, first they completely overshot the turning and went disappearing down the road. An about face with plenty of help from the handbrake got them pointed in the direction from which they'd just come, and again they went sailing past the turnoff. The handbrake was called into action once more, and by the time Krobler and Burrows got it right, they dropped precious seconds to the Bulwer Park Golf.
I can't understand how we got the puncture, but there was a cattle grid and a reverse fork which we pulled the handbrake and seemed to hook the tyre off the rim. So we went for about 8 Ks like that, so it's one of those things. Like he was in the front tyre.
A puncture on the first special stage of the day could easily have thrown a very large spanner in the Toyota works, but Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson survived the scare to rejoin the fray on what was turning into a very muddy battlefield. The second stage of the day had to be cancelled because of a flooded river, and in other stages, crews had to contend with more than slippery road surfaces and plenty of water and mud. Huge sprays of water and mud signalled the approach of rally leaders Jan Habak and Douglas Judd, with the Sasol VW Golf slipping and sliding all over the place. Multiple former Class A7 champions, Chad van der Walt and Cindy Harding, form one of the longest-standing driver and co-driver partnerships in South African rallying. The pair were enjoying their best outing of the season in the second Sasol VW Golf and looked to be assured of a podium finish. The car saw Jan Habak and Douglas Judd to the South African Championship in 1998, but a string of niggly mechanical and other problems hampered van der Walt and Harding throughout the year. The Sasol VW crew had a handy lead over Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, but hardly had to keep looking over their shoulders. Damso and Hodgson were thinking of nothing but survival and a high enough finish to secure Damso his 8th South African Drivers' Championship. Not that survival was easy in the conditions, with long stretches of water providing all crews with some anxious moments. Behind the factory Toyota, the team total entry in the hands of Jean-Pierre Damso and Johan Klaasen was hanging on to 4th place, with the crew making a strong recovery after a dreadful start to the season, where they picked up 4 non-finishes in a row. It was inevitable that the conditions would sooner or later trap a crew or two. In terms of the overall Group N Championship, no one could have foreseen the drama that was to later unfold, and it was the unfortunate Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz who were the first to succumb. After their long layoff, Fecken and Lukowitz were challenging strongly for a top 5 finish when the Motorpix Toyota Corolla expired in one of the long drifts of deep water that was scattered throughout the Day 2 route. The Motorpix Toyota was going nowhere, but behind them, Class A7 leaders Tony Ball and Marty Olivier in the Bulwer Park VW Golf were coming under pressure from Nissan Sentra pair, Johnny Gemmell and Errol Finnis, and Nico Nienaber and Mario Steenkamp in another VW Golf. Ball and Olivier were assured of winning the Class A7 Championship, but were losing ground to both Gemmell and Finnis and Nienaber and Steenkamp. And then came one of those incidents on which championships are won and lost. A puncture on the first stage of the day cost Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan 4 minutes and dropped them behind Group N Championship rivals Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper. The total Bridgestone pair were trying to make up time when they arrived at the spot where Fecken and Lukowitz were stranded. Grobler and Duncan tried to bypass the obvious route, and it turned out to be a major error. The Nissan Sentra bogged down, Krobler and Duncan were out of the event, and hopes of capturing the overall Group N Championship lay in tatters. And all Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper had to do to win the Group N Championship was see out the distance. They were well on their way to doing just that and were ahead of Johnny Gemmell and Errol Finnis, who'd now moved ahead of Tony Ball and Marty Olivier in the Class A7 battle. In their first season of national rallying, Gemmell and Finnis won Class A7 on the Gauteng Rally earlier in the season, but hopes of a second win were to be dashed when they had to retire the Nissan with a broken gearbox on Special Stage 13. Ploughing along behind them were Nienaber and Steenkamp in the Hencom Motorsport VW Golf. A sterling Day 2 effort after a slow start to the PMC had seen the pair move into the top 10 from 17th place overnight. Into the closing stages of the PMC Rally with Jan Habak and Doug Judd upping the pace a little to pull just over a minute clear of Sasol VW Golf teammates Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding.
300 turn off, 90 right through gate. 200 turn off, 90 right through gate. On the bend, turn off, 90 right through gate. Tight.
Habak and Judd were still prone to a minor lapse here and there, but they had in the bag the win they were looking for at the start of the event. The Sasol VW Golf team were putting the finishing touches to a 1-2 result, with Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding finally showing their true potential. They were around 3 minutes clear of Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, who were now coasting towards Damso's 8th South African driver's title and a slice of rally history. No 1.6-litre car has ever won the South African Championship, and Damso's triumph vindicated Toyota's controversial decision at the start of the year to withdraw from Class A8 and campaign in the Toyota Corolla RSI in Class A6. At the same time, there was disappointment for Hodgson, who was going to finish second to Judd in the Co-Drivers' Championship. Another good event for the Damso family saw Jean-Pierre Damso and Johan Klaassen firmly entrenched in 4th position in the team total Toyota Corolla. In the closest fight on the PMC, the Class A7 battle was headed for a grandstand finish. New champions Tony Ball and Marty Olivier won the war but lost the final battle and were beaten by just 10 seconds by Nico Nienaber and Marius Steenkamp, who notched up their first ever national championship class win. Habak and Judd and Ball and Olivier gave Volkswagen both the Class A8 and A7 championships, with Damso and Hodgson taking Class A6. The Toyota Cup was starting to run over, with Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper putting the finishing touches to the overall Group N title and the Class N2 championship. Saunders and Hooper were chased home in the Class N2 title race by Kubus Russ and Neil Faree in the Toyota Corolla, with the pair just missing out on closing their season with a top 10 finish. Down in Class N1, Mike Houghton and Brian Doherty in the Toy Toy Spares Toyota Taz closed off their season with a win over Team Total Toyota Taz pair, Rodney Visaki and Carolyn Swan. Visaki and Swan had already made sure of back-to-back national titles in Class N1, while down in Class N3 there was a popular but unexpected maiden national win for Mervyn and Theo Turton in a Nissan Sentra. The pair were eventually classified ahead of Jeff Mortimer and Jerry Gericke in the Sasol Nissan Sentra, with the veteran pair twice deciding to call it a day, only to keep going when they saw other Class N3 competitors run into trouble. The final classification was 7 VW Golfs in the top 10, and Saunders and Hooper the only Group N team to feature on the front page of the leaderboard. Third overall was enough to give Serge Damso his 8th South African Drivers' Championship, with Toyota making sure of their place in the history books by winning the championship in a Class A6 car. In the overall Drivers' Championship, Serge Damso finished 12 points clear of Jannie Habak, with Etienne Lawrence and Chart van der Walt next up. Douglas Judd salvaged VW honour by snatching his 3rd co-drivers title ahead of Guy Hodgson and Robert Paisley.
Everyone thought that our year would be very easy, and it turned out to be very, very difficult. Now, we had 2 non-finishers, which didn't help our championship very much, and the consequence of that was we won all the other ones that we'd finished, but we didn't score enough points. So, yeah, we got to be maybe satisfied with the second position in the championship, but, you know, that's the way it works in rallying, and we've got to look forward to next year now.
Definitely didn't think a chance this year winning the championship. But I must thank my team, Wamby and his guys that built the car. They did a fantastic job and amazing little car.
A dramatic end to the Group N Championship. In a grandstand finish, Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper gave Toyota another national title ahead of the unfortunate Hannes Frobler and Brian Duncan.
I mean, the tension yesterday and today was unbelievable. I mean, Hannes got a puncture and we got ahead of him by 4 minutes. It was very close before that. And then we slowed down a little bit too much, I think, and he took a minute off us. And starting the following stage after that was like starting a rally about 5 years ago. You know, the tension was unbelievable. But anyway, we've made it through, and excellent. We fought the whole year for this. This is what we've been trying to achieve for this whole year, and we've done it, and it's amazing.